Jack Carson sat alone inside a small metal building on the quiet planet Virion 6 outside. The sky was dark purple, and 2 moons slowly moved across the stars. Jack was a repair technician for the Galactic Research Agency. He had worked here for 2 years, and he was used to the silence. Every day was the same. Check the systems, send reports, drink recycled coffee, and wait. But tonight, something strange happened. At 2:47 a.m. Jack heard a sound, not a mechanical beep, not a radio call. It was a soft musical tone, like a voice singing, but no words. It came from the forest outside. Jack froze. There were no other people on this side of the planet, and the forest was marked restricted zone, no entry. Jack walked to the window. The trees were glowing faintly under moonlight. The sound got louder, sweet, but also sad. It felt like someone calling, crying. He checked the signal monitor on his console. Nothing, no ship, no transmission. Must be a glitch, Jack said to himself, but the sound didn't stop. Something inside him whispered, go. Jack grabbed a scanner and a flashlight. He stepped outside. The air was cold and still. His boots crunched on the silver grass dot as he walked into the forest. The sound became clearer. Now it was more than music. It was a voice, singing softly, full of emotion. The trees were tall and blue. Leaves moved even though there was no wind. Jack followed the sound deeper, his scanner flashing strange patterns. Suddenly, the music stopped. Silence. He looked around. The trees formed a circle like a natural arena in the center. Something was there. A crashed pod, silver and glowing. Faintly, Jack walked slowly toward it. Steam hissed from its sides. Symbols were carved all over the shell, nothing human. Then he heard a soft footstep behind him. He turned around. 3 tall women stood there, their skin glowing faintly like moonlight. Their hair floated as if underwater. Their eyes were large and full of pain. Jack took a step back. Who are you? The tallest one stepped forward. Her voice was soft but clear. We are Varelians, and you are the one we've waited for. Jack blinked. Waited for me. The second woman raised her hand. Please, we mean no harm. Our kind is dying. You are our only hope. Jack's heart raced. What do you mean dying? What do you want from me? The third woman touched his forehead gently. In that moment, Jack saw visions, not like a dream, but real fast images burning into his brain. A beautiful world, filled with light, children playing in glowing fields, then silence. Children, no life, alien women crying in empty halls. Darkness spreading through the stars. Jack pulled back, gasping. He looked at the women. What was that? What did you show me? The first woman spoke. Our life is fading. Our future is empty. Only your kind can help us now. Jack's mind raced. This can't be real. Am I dreaming? The pod behind them made a soft humming sound. The women looked worried. They are coming, one of them whispered. We don't have much time. Who's coming? Jack asked. But before they could answer, everything went black. Jack woke up in his bed, sweating. Morning light filled the room. His scanner lay on the floor, blinking with arrow signs. His boots were muddy. Was it a dream? He sat up slowly. And heart still pounded. Then he looked at his hand. On his palm was a glowing mark, a circle with 3 stars inside. It wasn't a dream. It was real, and it had just begun. Jack stood at the sink in his small kitchen, staring at the glowing mark on his hand. The hot water kept running, but the mark did not fade. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. He rubbed it hard, then harder, but it stayed there, shining softly under the light. He tried to return to work like nothing had happened. The scanners were offline. The signal logs had been wiped. The forest cameras showed nothing. Everything from last night was gone, like it had never happened. But Jack knew what he saw. He remembered the tall women, the glowing skin, the crashed pod, and that strange vision of a dying world. He kept hearing their voices in his head, asking him to help. He had questions but no one to ask. That night, the signal came again. This time it was quieter, like a whisper just below hearing. It did not hurt, but it pulled at his mind like a string. He stepped outside into the cold air and followed the pull. His feet moved before he even thought about it. The forest welcomed him like an old friend. He walked for nearly 20 minutes before he saw them. The 3 alien women stood in the same clearing as before. The pod behind them now glowed brighter. It had changed shape. It looked taller, more alive, like it had grown. Jack stopped at the edge of the trees. His voice was calm, but inside he felt like a storm. What do you want from me? The tallest woman stepped forward again. She wore a long silver robe that shimmered in the moonlight. Her name was Nalira. She spoke gently, like a teacher calming a scared student. We are the last of our kind. Our bodies are strong, our minds are sharp, but something inside us has broken. We cannot create life anymore. Jack narrowed his eyes. You want children? You want me to help you make them? The second woman, Sora, nodded. Her eyes looked kind but full of sadness. Yes, your genetic code is a match. You are compatible. You can help us survive. Jack took a deep breath. His heart beat faster. A part of him was flattered. 3 beautiful women, powerful and graceful, were asking for his help, but another part of him did not trust them. They were hiding something. Why me? Out of all the humans in the galaxy, why pick a lonely tech on a quiet planet? Nalira stepped closer. Her eyes glowed faintly. We did not choose you by chance. You answered the call. You are open, pure. You still believe in more than machines. Jack shook his head slowly. This sounds like a trap. I want to help, but I need to know everything. The third woman, Vera, stepped forward for the first time. Her voice was calm but carried weight. There is more. Our kind once ruled 12 star systems. We had power, beauty, and long life. But we lost our balance. Our men died long ago. Now we drift between stars, waiting for the end. Jack looked around the clearing. The trees moved like they were listening. He felt something deep in his chest, like sorrow that was not his own. What do I need to do? Sora smiled softly. We do not need to touch or take. Only your agreement. Your DNA can awaken our ancient seed crystals. You will feel no pain, but the bond must be willing. You must say yes with your heart. Jack thought about Earth, about the cities full of people, the noise, the cold lights, the endless rules. No one ever needed him there, not really. Here these strange women needed him for something real. I want to help. But if I say yes, what happens to me? Nalira looked at him, her face serious now. You will change, not your shape, but your spirit. Once the bond is made, you will be linked to us forever. You may never return to what you were. Jack stared at the mark on his hand. It pulsed again, brighter now, as if it felt the moment coming. He looked at the three women, their eyes full of quiet hope. Then I say yes, I'll help you. That clearing filled with a low hum. The pod behind them opened. Inside was a glowing crystal shaped like a star. The women held out their hands, and Jack stepped forward. As he touched the crystal, a warm light wrapped around him. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then Jack felt a rush of memories that were not his. A million stars, forgotten songs, the smell of alien oceans, the first breath of a newborn child. And then it stopped. Jack stood still. The women bowed their heads. It is done, Nalira said. Thank you. Suddenly a deep sound rumbled in the sky. Vera looked up, eyes wide. They found us. Jack looked at her sharply. Nalira's voice was cold now. The ones who want us dead. The sky above Virion 6 turned red as the sound of engines echoed through the clouds. The trees shook as if they were afraid. A shadow passed over the forest like a giant hand reaching down from the stars. Jack stood in front of the alien pod, breathing fast. The glowing mark on his hand burned hot, as if warning him of something coming. Nalira stared into the sky, her eyes focused and calm, while Vera whispered something in a language Jack did not understand. Sora stepped beside him. Her voice was soft, but her hands were shaking. We need to move now. They are hunters. They do not forgive. Jack followed them into the forest. The trees moved aside as if making a path just for them. The pod closed behind them, shrinking into the ground like it was never there as they ran. Jack kept glancing at Sora. Her steps were fast but quiet, like she had done this many times before. Her eyes looked forward, never meeting his, and something in her silence felt strange. They stopped at a hidden cave covered by vines. Inside it was warm and bright. Blue crystals glowed on the walls like small suns. The place felt old but alive. Nalira turned to Jack. Her voice was calm but strong. We must stay here for one night. The ship will arrive tomorrow to take us to the next star, but tonight we are hunted, so we hide. Jack nodded. He sat on a smooth rock and looked at the glowing walls. His mind was full of questions, but his body was tired. Later, as he rested his head against the stone, he heard footsteps. Sora stood near a crystal, looking at something small in her hand. It was a thin black device with sharp corners and red lights. It was not like their soft, smooth alien tech. He stood slowly and watched her from behind the rocks. She raised the device and spoke. In a different voice, it was colder and faster. Target accepted. Transmission complete. Prepare for retrieval. Jack stepped out from the shadow. What was that? Sora froze. The device disappeared into her robe. Her face turned toward him, but her eyes did not blink. You should not be here. Go back to the others. Jack walked closer. His voice was louder. Now who did you call? Are you working with someone else? Sora took a deep breath. Her hands were at her sides, calm and still. I was protecting us. We needed help. I called an old friend to guide us away from danger. Jack shook his head. No, that was not a call for help. That was a signal. You gave someone our location. Lyra and Vera entered the cave. Their faces showed fear, but also something more. No, Lyra stepped between them. Sora explained. What have you done? Sora looked down at the floor. Her voice broke like glass. They promised safety. They said they would help us if I gave them the human. I wanted to save our kind. I wanted to survive. Nalira's voice turned cold. At what cost? You sold our only chance. You betrayed the bond. Jack felt the mark on his hand grow dim. The trust between them cracked like thin ice. He backed away. You used me. Was this all just a trick? Sora stepped forward, her eyes full of tears. I felt something. I believed in you. I still do, but I was afraid. I could not see another way. Vera looked at Jack. She did not act alone. Someone guided her from the shadows. The real enemy is near, and they know everything now. Outside, the cave lights appeared in the sky. Ships moved in silence, but their shape was not human. The hunters had come. Nalira turned to Jack. Must leave now, but not together. If they find all of us here, it will end quickly. We will draw them away. You must go to the mountain. There is an old station there. Use it to call for help. Jack did not move. What if I never see you again? Nalira gave him a small crystal. It glowed faintly in his hand. If the bond still lives, you will know when to return. Jack ran through the night while the three women went in the other direction. Their lights faded between the trees and then were gone. As he reached the mountain path, a blast shook the ground behind him. The sky lit up with fire and smoke. Something was burning in the forest. He looked back, but he could not see them. Only the sound of battle filled the air, and a strange cry that did not belong to any human. At the top of the hill, Jack found the station. It was broken and covered in dust, but the core systems were still active. He pressed the crystal against the control panel and the lights flickered. Owner. The voice spoke from the machine, but it was not his. It was deep and strange. Dina key confirmed. Hybrid sequence active. Location compromised. To begin final phase. Jack stepped back. His heart pounded. The machine was not just a transmitter. It was something else, a weapon or maybe a door. He had been part of something far bigger than he knew, and someone had planned it all from the start. The control panel glowed bright as Jack stepped back. The mountain station came to life. Lights blinked along the walls. Machines turned and clicked. The air smelled like smoke and old metal. Something deep underground began to move. Jack did not understand the machine, but it recognized him. The crystal he had used pulsed in his hand like a heartbeat. The voice from the panel was gone, but something had started, something powerful. He looked out the cracked window. Flames rose from the forest below. Dark shapes moved between the trees, fast and quiet. The hunters were searching for him. He turned to the old stairwell and climbed higher. Dust fell from each step. The wind howled through broken vents. As he reached the roof, he saw the sky full of ships, their wings wide and dark, their engines silent. They moved like shadows. Jack knew he had only minutes before they found the station. He needed to run, but he did not know where to go. The planet was large and wild, and he was alone. A sudden sound came from below, a sharp metal noise like claws against stone. Jack drew his small plasma tool and pointed it at the stairwell. It was not much, but it was all he had. A figure stepped into view, but it was not one of the hunters. It was Vera. Her robe was torn, and her face had a deep cut across the cheek. She held her side, and Limchek rushed to help. Harry, thought you were gone. Vera looked up. Her voice was low. Nalira and Sora led them away. I escaped through the old tunnels, but they are close now. We must leave. Jack helped her to the rooftop. A small panel on her wrist blinked red. She pressed it, and a soft hum filled the air. A hidden door opened behind the station wall. A small one-person flyer hovered in the shadows. It was barely large enough for two, but Jack helped her inside. The hatch closed, and the craft rose into the air, silent and fast. From above, Jack saw the forest burning in several places. Ships circled like birds over prey. He scanned the trees for signs of the others, but there was no movement. Vera touched the controls. Her hands were shaking. We are not safe yet. They will follow us anywhere. We must reach the relay tower on the dark side of the planet. It is hidden from there. Scans. Jack watched her face. She looked weak but focused. Her eyes stayed locked on the horizon. What that happens if they catch you? As Vera spoke without fear. They will take your DNA and kill me. They will use your code to build their own version of life. A weapon instead of a future. The flyer shook as something hit its side. A blast of red light flew past the window. Another ship was behind them, fast and silent. A hunter. Vera turned the craft sharply. The engine screamed as they dove between sharp cliffs. The flyer scraped the side of a rock but kept going. The enemy ship fired again but missed. Jack saw it gaining speed. Hold on, Vera said, and pushed the flyer straight into a narrow tunnel in the side of a mountain. The tunnel was dark and tight. The walls flashed as the lights on the flyer tried to keep up. The enemy ship followed too fast. It struck the tunnel roof and exploded behind them. A wave of fire chased them through the rock. They burst out of the other side just as the fire died. The flyer spun twice before Vera regained control. She pointed ahead. The tower is there, hidden behind that ridge. We can reach it in 3 minutes. Jack looked at her wound. You are bleeding bad. Let me help. She shook her head. No, we finished the mission first. You can heal me after. As they flew toward the ridge, a soft sound came from the rear console, a signal. What was coming through it was not from Earth and not from the hunters. It was Sora. Her voice was weak, but alive. Jack, if you can hear me, we are safe for now. Nalira is hurt, but alive. We are in the caves near the Crystal Lake. Do not trust the tower. Be careful. The signal you activated was not ours. Something else woke up. The message ended. Jack looked at Vera. What does she mean? Not our signal. Vera stared at the tower ahead. It was tall and black and shaped like a needle. No light came from it, no sound, no life. That tower was built before our time, before even the Varelians. It listens and it waits. We thought it was broken. We were wrong. Jack felt cold. A tower that waits. Something built by no one, still working in silence. We should not land there. Vera did not answer. She was losing blood fast. Jack took the controls and changed course. He turned away from the tower toward the lake where Sora waited below the tower. A small red light blinked once, then stopped far away. Something in space opened its eyes. Jack guided the flyer away from the black tower. The mountains passed beneath them like waves of stone. Vera had lost consciousness. Her head rested against the seat, her skin pale and cold. Jack kept one hand on the controls and the other pressed against the wound on her side. He followed the lake's curve until he saw an opening in the rocks. A narrow path led into a deep canyon where water glowed blue in the shadows. At the far end of the canyon he saw light, soft and golden. It flickered Like a fire in the wind, he landed the flyer on a flat ledge and stepped out carrying Vera in his arms. Sora stood near the entrance to a cave, her face tired but calm. She ran forward and helped Jack carry Vera. Inside, Nalira was resting against the wall wrapped in a silver blanket. Her eyes opened when Jack entered, and she gave a small nod. "You came back." Jack looked at her, then at Sora. "You said the tower was not yours. You were right. Something inside it felt wrong." Sora lit a soft lamp and placed it near Vera. The walls of the cave glowed gently in response, like they were alive. "That tower does not speak, it listens. It was made by a race older than memory. It wakes only when a bond is formed between two worlds. Now that bond is real because of you." Jack sat down beside the lamp. "So, what happens now?" Nalira closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. "Now comes the trial." Jack frowned. "What trial?" Sora knelt beside the crystal fire in the center of the cave. She reached into the flames without burning and pulled out a round stone shaped like an egg. "The bond you gave is only the beginning, Jack. This world must decide if you are worthy to carry its legacy. The trial is not a fight. It is a test of truth." Jack stood. "I already gave you my word. I gave you my DNA. What more do you want?" Nalira pointed to the stone. "We never wanted just a child. We wanted a future, a protector, a leader. If you pass the trial, the world will open. If you fail, everything ends." Jack looked down at the glowing mark on his hand. It was steady now, no longer burning. "What do I have to do?" Sora placed the stone into his hands. "You must face your truth. Walk into the lake and hold the stone. If the world accepts you, it will show you what comes next. If it rejects you, the lake will keep you forever." Jack took a breath, then stepped out of the cave. The blue water shimmered in the moonlight. He walked to the edge, removed his boots and stepped in. The water was warm and smooth, like silk. Each step felt like sinking into a memory. Faces flashed in his mind. Friends from Earth, parents he had left behind, a city full of machines and lights, a life of silence. When the water reached his chest, he held up the stone. It glowed bright, then dark, then bright again. The lake began to rise around him, not with waves but with shapes. Memories not his own filled the air around him. He saw a great city made of glass and light, a child laughing in a glowing field, a war that tore stars apart, and a silence that followed. Then he saw himself standing before a crowd, not as Jack Carson, the lonely tech, but as something more, his skin glowing, his voice calm, his hands holding the stars. Suddenly, the light vanished and the lake went still. Jack stood alone, holding the stone. The mark on his hand was gone. He stepped out of the water and walked back to the cave. The stone in his hand cracked open. Inside was a crystal seed pulsing with soft light. Sora took the seed and smiled. "You passed. The world accepts you. The bond is complete." Nalira sat up straighter. "This seed will become the first of a new life. Your line will carry our history, our power, and our hope." Jack looked at the fire. "I saw something in the lake. Something big, a choice, a future I do not understand at all. But I know it is real." Sora noted. "You are changing, not your body, but your place in the universe. The old races are watching now." A sound echoed outside, a low hum like a whisper in the stars. Jack walked to the cave entrance and looked up above the canyon. A ship hovered. Its shape was smooth and round, not like the hunter's ships. It had no weapons, no lights, just presence. Nalira stood beside Jack. "The Guardians have come. They watched your trial. They will speak to you and then the path will open." Jack turned to her. "Am I still human?" She smiled. "You are more than you were. You are part of something greater." Now the ship opened without sound. A beam of soft light touched the ground. Jack stepped into it without fear. The trial was over. The future had begun. The light carried Jack into the ship without noise or pain. He felt like he was floating through windless space. Time slowed, but his heart stayed calm. The walls of the ship were alive, with color shifting from blue to gold with every breath he took. He stood inside a round chamber filled with tall figures. They were not Varelians and not human. Their shapes were unclear, like they were made of energy, not flesh. Their eyes glowed like suns, but they said nothing. At first, one of them stepped forward and placed a single hand near Jack's chest. "Without touching the mark on Jack's palm, return shining brighter than before. You are chosen not just to protect but to decide," spoke the figure in a voice that echoed in Jack's mind, not with sound, but with meaning. "The world you touched is waking. The tower you avoided is a signal to others. Not all who hear it will come in peace." Jack felt pressure in his head as visions filled his mind again. He saw planets turning dark, stars dying, ships breaking. In silence above burning skies, he saw the faces of hunters empty and cold, their machines crushing cities with no mercies. "War has already begun," said the voice, "and you stand at the center." "Why me?" Jack asked, though he knew no one could answer it. "Simply because you chose life, not power. Because you carried the seed of hope into the water. Because you did not run when the sky turned red." The chamber began to change, showing images of Nalira, Sora, and Vera. They were still in the canyon waiting. Wounded and tired, the ship above them was rising again. "They will follow you," one of the figures said, "but you must lead with purpose." Jack nodded slowly. He did not feel ready, but something inside him had changed. He no longer felt like the man who once fixed broken wires alone in a quiet outpost. A door opened behind him and the same soft light touched his back. "You are not alone," the voice said. "Others will hear you when the time is right." He stepped into the light again and returned to the light again and returned to the canyon, the ship vanished like mist in the sky. The air felt heavy with warning. Wallara looked up as he approached, her eyes lit with strength. They gave you a gift, did they not? Jack held up his hand. The mark pulsed, then spread across his fingers like a circuit of light. I understand now, Jack said. The signal's calling enemies to this world. The war is coming. Here, Sora stepped forward. We must stop them before they land. We have the old weapons in the mountain vault, but only you can open it now together. They moved through the canyon toward the mountain where Varelian ruins slept beneath layers of time. The rocks shifted when Jack touched them, revealing a gate of crystal and steel. Inside were machines built for defense, tall walkers shaped like beasts, drones that moved like birds, lasers powered by suns locked in stone. Jack placed his hand on the central core and the whole chamber came alive. The machines opened their eyes and turned to him, waiting for command. They will be here by nightfall, said Vera. We have one chance. That night the sky broke open. A fleet of hunter ships, dark and sharp, fell through the clouds, their engines silent, their weapons hot with red light. The first wave struck the edge of the canyon, but the drones met them. In the air, firing streams of energy, they pushed back the attack. The walkers climbed the cliffs and roared as they launched their strikes. The mountain shook with the sound of war. Jack stood in the control chamber of the vault, watching every move, directing each machine through his link. The seed inside him had connected him to the old world. Now he could speak to its systems like a second brain. But the hunters were many and they did not stop. They sent down their strongest, a giant warship. Shaped like a burning crown, it landed near the lake and fired into the ruins, breaking stone and light. We cannot hold them here forever, cried Sora. Then we finish it now, Jack replied. There is one final weapon buried below the core. He ran through the tunnel and found the final chamber. A sphere floated in the air, spinning slow and humming with power. It was the heart of the world once used to create, now holding enough energy to fruit. Activate it. You must give it everything, Nolira said as she followed him inside. It will not accept machines, only will. Jack stepped forward. He touched the sphere and felt the pain rush into him. A storm of memories, knowledge and fire poured through his veins. The sphere glowed so bright the walls disappeared. The mountain cracked open. A wave of energy swept through the sky, hitting the hunter ship and tearing it apart. The rest of the fleet broke and scattered into the stars. He returned to the valley. The fire stopped. The machines powered down. The light faded. Jack collapsed in the chamber, his breath shallow, his body glowing faintly. Nolira knelt beside him. You saved Uz. Jack opened his eyes. This was only the first battle. The stars above Variant 6 looked clearer than ever. The smoke had drifted away and the sky was calm. The forest was quiet again and the glowing lake returned to its peaceful light. The sounds of war had vanished, but their memories stayed in the stone and soil. Jack Carson opened his eyes in the crystal chamber. His body ached like it had been torn apart and rebuilt. The light around him dimmed slowly. The floating sphere had become still. Its power now asleep. Nolira helped him to his feet. Her hand was warm and steady. Her face was marked with ash, but her eyes were proud. You lived, she said with a voice filled with wonder. The seed has accepted you fully. Jack tried to speak, but no words came. For a moment he looked at his hands and saw that the light was still there, moving beneath his skin like flowing rivers. He was not just human anymore. He was something new. Sora entered the chamber holding a small device. She nodded at Jack with a smile that carried both sorrow and hope. The enemy fleet is gone. Most of the ships were destroyed. The rest have vanished into deep space. Vera stood at the door, her robe torn but her spirit strong. We must rebuild and we must do it with care. The world has given us a second chance. They returned to the surface, where the ruins of the battle still smoked. Machines lay quiet, their work complete. Jack walked through the field of silence, each step heavy with the weight of what had been lost and what had been saved. Day's soft cry broke the quiet, a sound pure and small, a new voice in a world. Reborn. Sora lead Jack to the inner cave where a pod had opened. Inside a newborn child slept wrapped in silver cloth. Her skin glowed gently, her fingers curled around a soft crystal. She is the first, said Sora. Her name is Elia. Jack looked at the child and something deep inside him shifted. The lake, the stars, the war all faded for a moment. There was only the sound of breathing and the promise of life. Others will come, said Nolira. The Guardians have sent messages across the stars. The signal of peace will reach those who are ready to listen and those who are not, asked Jack, his voice steady. Now they will choose as you chose, said Vera. And some will fall as the hunters fell. A new city rose where the canyon once hid in shadow. Buildings shaped like trees reached toward the sky, powered by the old crystal core and guided by the wisdom of the past. The Varelians and Jack worked together to create a home not just for survival but for growth. Jack sat in the council circle, his mark glowing softly as he spoke with others, not as a visitor but as a leader. Stories of Earth were shared and songs of Yarian sang through the air. The wind carried laughter across the mountains. Years passed like falling leaves. Elia grew strong and curious. Her eyes saw beyond stars and her heart held the voice of the lake. Jack taught her how to listen, how to lead, and how to protect what mattered. One evening under the twin moons, Jack stood on the hill above the city. Elia stood beside him, taller now, her eyes bright with fire. Will they ever return? She asked. The hunters may try, Jack said, but this time we are ready. She nodded and smiled. The crystal in her hand glowed with promise. Nolira joined them, her hair silver with age but her steps still light. The bond between our kinds has changed everything, she said. You are not a guest anymore, Jack. You are the bridge. Jack looked at the stars. He remembered his small station on the edge of space, the quiet life, the lonely nights. The man who once waited for messages from Earth now sent hope across galaxy. Sora approached with a soft book in her hand. The cover was made of memory crystal and it held the story of their world, past, present, and future. We will send this to Earth, she said. Let them know the truth. Let them know what one human chose to become. The city lights danced below. The trees glowed with soft color. The towers reached into the sky like arms raised in Pisilia pointed to a new ship in the sky. Not a warship, but a vessel of learning sent by a distant planet, ready to listen, ready to change. They are coming, she said, with a voice full of joy. Jack smiled for the first time in a long time, not with pain, not with burden, but with peace. Then let us welcome them, he said. Together they walked back toward the city where light met stone and stars met soil, where humans and Varelians stood not as strangers but as family. A world once lost had found its voice again, and this time it would never be silenced.